And she tells him, she goes,
I said, "Hi, baby," and he moved. Like right away, he moved,
right
and
away.
it wasn't like a twitch. Like he really moved because after that, he kept moving.
The doctors didn't believe it. I got the doctor and said, "Look, he's moving on his own," and he goes, "Yeah, I see him moving, but you have to understand about they have twitching.
Yeah.
He's in a coma."
Oh
still.
wait, I went up to the incubator and I said, "Hi, baby, mommy's here." And he moved, and then after that, like we're saying, he kept moving, and the doctors were like, "Oh well, you know, baby's twitch," and then right there he was like, "Oh, he is moving," and we're like, "Yes, he's
Doctors
moving."
and nurses couldn't believe it.
Yeah,
and
he was.
all I kept telling the doctor, I says, "We have faith. I have faith that he's gonna be okay." And the doctor looked at me, and he seemed the type that he believed in faith.
Yeah.
But he also knew he wouldn't say it.
Yeah.
But he also knew the scientific way that how his body was.
He knew
and
the odds
everything.
we were facing. Well, Isaac was facing, and Isaac always like proved them wrong. Like always, even to the end. That's why it was so unbelievable when he passed away, because not even the doctors expected that. Our son lived for 20 days. So he wasn't expected to live those first 24, 48 hours.
Nope, he was at his feet, he was eating.
Yeah, he did a lot of things that you wouldn't think a micropene
even newborns,
would do.
even full grown, long-term babies that were in NICU because they weren't eating or they weren't pooping or anything. Isaac was doing everything. He was at his highest feeding. He was holding his own bobo, his pacifier, and I hated going back to work.
Yeah.
And I had to go back to work. At that point, I said, I have to make the money. So as I was at work, I would watch Isaac on the monitor on my phone. I would, call the doctors, see what's going on with him. How was his blood gas? How was this? How's his lungs? His main concern was his lungs.
Yeah, because he was so tiny that his lungs weren't really developed. And that's what they were working on. That was, like my husband said, that was like the thing they were most concerned about was his lungs, which his lungs was like, if they weren't there, like they were still growing. And they had to put him on a few different machines and everything. But everyone had hope. Like, although we all know how anyone who's in the medical field, how they are, it's all scientific. His team, they all had hope. And they all believed that they were going to get him through it. And he was so strong. Like I said, he kept beating the odds. He would always prove them wrong. While my husband was at work, obviously I was getting rides to go see him. And I would stay with him and wait for my husband to get there. And, I was always with him.
She stayed in NICU all day. I was working, calling her. How's the baby? The baby's doing fine. She was changing him and everything. And, I couldn't wait. I couldn't wait to go back to the hospital.
Yeah, because when anyone who's ever had a baby in NICU or in the hospital, you already know it's really hard to leave your baby there. Like, it's super duper hard. In our case, at least we had one of us there. I wish that it could have been both of us the whole time, because we do a lot better together anyways. But Isaac always knew when we were there. So
while he was in there, it wasn't always, perfect. He had his downs. He...
Like any NICU baby.
Like any NICU baby, exactly.
There's good days and there's not so good days. There's days where they progress a lot, and then the next day they might go back 3 steps back. Like, that's just how it is. But the day he passed away,
I had called the doctors while I was at work, and I asked the doctor, "How's Isaac doing?" And you know, I was working. He's been a voicemail. Call him back, and he tells me Isaac is doing. He's doing okay. And I said, "What do you mean okay?" And he goes, "Well, you know, he's still having the issues with his lungs. His blood pressure goes up and down, but you know, we're gonna." You know, I sat down with a team of doctors, and we have a plan. We're gonna start treating him. We're gonna do more tests on him to see what's going on with him. And I asked the doctor. I remember asking the doctor, and I asked him, "Do you believe that? Do you believe that he's gonna be okay?" And the doctor goes to me, "Yeah, he's gonna be okay." And I asked him, "Do you believe that you can get him past this thing with his lungs?" Because I believe, and he said, "I believe that I've dealt with many of these situations. I believe that I can." So I was okay.
Yeah. Plus, it like I said, like this doctor, he was so good, and he was faithful.
He fell in love with Isaac. That was all. When he went there, he dealt with his babies, but he always made sure he came over to see Isaac. He made sure he was on top of Isaac's situations. You know, even the nurses were amazing with him. They treated Isaac like if he was their own.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and when I hung up the phone with him, and something at work, I was at work, and I'm like, I gotta go. I don't know, there's something wrong. I just have to go. But once the doctor told me that Isaac was gonna be okay, you know, I was like, okay, well, you know what? I'm leaving soon. Let me stick out the day. You know, all I had was a half an hour more to go.
Yeah.
To make it to the hospital.
That day, I was the one day that I didn't go.
In the morning.
In the hospital, like. Mm-hmm. I had stood home, and I'm not home, in this room we were renting at the time, so we could be near him. We had our home at the time, however, we were staying close by because we wanted to be closer to him. The hospital that I had him at, it's like 25 to 30 minutes away, depending, so, you know, we wanted to be close. And that's the first day that I wasn't over there that day. The doctors had told me since he was born I needed to get rest because I had lost so much blood, and although I was doing good, like recovery wise after everything that happened,
they said that she never knows what can happen, so no matter if she's doing good, that she still needed her rest. So she took that opportunity and she said, you know what, I'm gonna rest a little bit, then I'll go across the parking lot to go into the hospital.
But from that night before and that whole day, I was crying. And like I said, like I wasn't really crying that time that he was here. And I never even like to cry near his incubator. I would always step out if I had to shed a few tears. But that day and the night before, I just wasn't okay. Like, I was like super down, and I couldn't hold my tears back. I was just crying and crying and crying, and that whole morning I was just feeling like, I don't know, and I thought I was just being negative, like maybe now finally everything's catching up to me. So that's what I thought. So I didn't go see him yet. I was watching him here and there in the baby cam, and I was pumping milk for him, and I was in the process of getting ready to go see him. And I had just finished talking to him on the phone about what the doctor was telling him. And I kept telling him, like, I was crying, and I told him, like, I don't know. And he was like, babe, you know, the doctors, I spoke to the doctors, and he kept reassuring me, like, the doctor says he's okay. You know, he's okay, they're going to get him through this. But something inside of me just was like, there's something wrong. So I kept praying and praying and praying and praying and crying and praying and praying and praying. And then it was to a point where I had a vision of my son's headstone. And I lost it even more because I just felt like I was being negative, so negative. And as a mom, you don't want to be that negative. So the doctor called me and he told me to hurry and get to the room because he asked me, said, hey, you're nearby, right? Because my husband had told him where I was at while they were on the phone. And although they were happy at that time to hear that I was nearby in the room actually getting rest, like he thought I was actually getting rest, at that point when he called me, he needed me to be over there with my son because they were resuscitating him again. And I was in complete, like, shock. And, you know, I kept crying and everything. But I said, okay. I ran out the room.
She calls me on the phone, and I was ready to get on the highway to go to the hospital. And she tells me, babe, you have to get here. You have to get here. And I'm like, what's going on? Calm down. And when she told me and I was behind the wheel, I lost it. Like I felt this stabbing pain in my chest. And I told her, don't worry, he's gonna be okay. And when she told me that they're resuscitating him, you know, I've rushed. I don't even know how I got there. There was ice all over the highway. And I got there, I picked her up. We rushed into the hospital. I left the car even running in the front of the hospital with the keys inside. We ran upstairs. And I can remember the doctor calling me. And I told her, wait, the doctor's calling me. I called her. I picked up. He asked me, where was I? And I said, I'm here. I'm going up. He goes, where? I said, I'm at the elevator.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. And because I was across, but I wasn't across the parking lot of where our son was. I was across just the hospital in general.
Mm-hmm.
If I would have ran, he still would have had to pick me up to go see our son. But it was
far from the hospital, but it was close by. It was across the street. Like it was big. It wasn't a walking distance. You could get there in like a split second.
But you know, when he came to pick me up and everything, you know, you don't want to think like that's it, like your son's gonna be gone. So when we get there, we got out the elevator and it was like a movie. Like, you know how in the movies the doctor comes to you and he starts shaking his head and that's when you know the person passed? That's exactly how it was. We got out of the elevator and I didn't even, sorry that I'm crying, I didn't really mean to cry. Because I usually, you know, I don't really say the whole story to people.
Yeah.
But,
I couldn't believe it when the doctors told us.
Yeah,
when I seen him and I seen his face and I go,
and then, you know,
how's Isaac? And he just shook his head and with just only sorrow in him. And I couldn't believe it. Like, we almost literally, like, dropped to our knees.
Yeah, like, I think we both held each other up at that time and we didn't even notice. Like, when two things fall and they go like this, that's exactly what happened. We fell onto each other, I think. And we were just crying and he took us to see our son. And, you know, I remember picking him up and taking him to this private room. And we just held him. I mean, he was already gone, but we held him. And God definitely gave us strength to spend those last moments with him. Even though he was already gone, he definitely gave us strength because that was hard. Like, you know, this whole time we were hoping to hold our son. I actually kept telling my husband days before that, I kept telling him how I was praying that, you know, for New Year's we didn't get to hold him, but I kept telling him, you know, for your birthday, I'm sure, you know, we're going to be able to hold him. And in NICU, for any mother who's in NICU, constantly ask the respiratory team or the nurses, constantly tell them that you want to hold your baby. Because, first of all, they're supposed to help make it happen. Not that they can, because it all depends on the condition, but always ask and make it a point every single day that you want to hold your baby. Not that we didn't, because we did. Just because of how he was, we couldn't hold him yet. But we did. We held him. We sang to him. We
read to him, read the Bible to him, Bible stories.
We took him his last sponge bath. Because we didn't know if we were going to do the autopsy, but we ended up not doing that. Yeah, so what happened was that his blood pressure had went down, and it just dropped.
Kept going down.
And
it wouldn't come back up. And then the doctor, when we asked the doctor, like, well, what happened? He just couldn't believe what happened. Like, he was in shock.
Yeah.
The doctor said that it just happened. It was like in a split second. Like, they were checking him. They were ready to do his blood work. Blood pressure dropped, and it just kept dropping. It just completely dropped, and the doctor tried, and I'm very grateful for that, because no doctor would try more than 30 what was it, like 30 minutes. He tried for a whole half hour to try to bring him back. And at that point, when he told me that, I was like, he couldn't believe. And I knew that God, I knew at that point that God just came and took my son. He said no more tests, no more blood samples, no more nothing, no more machines.
Like, I felt like God was present, like the Holy Spirit was there, something, because that's how I felt. I just felt like so hurt and sad and everything, but at the same time, like, I felt strong enough to do so many things that I never thought I was going to be able to do it in that kind of situation. And it really was, because God had to be with us. And anyone who got to see me around that time when our son passed away, that strength that I had, that was all God, because when you go through something like that, most of the time everyone expects you to break. And instead, I wasn't breaking. And I will always feel like, it was my fault because I should have been there. But this is the way God wanted it to be. So whether I was there or not, that was going to happen. And I'm crying a lot now because all that faith that we had, or that we have, in the fact that even when our son passed, we weren't mad at God.
We thanked.
We thanked him a lot. We thanked him a lot.
And many people at that point in time, they would be so angry with God. They'd be like, "Why, God? Why would you do this?"
Which is
they would say, either it may mention, bad words to him and everything. And at that time, we were asking God why, but then we were also thanking him as well, because we always prayed for God to heal him, for God to save him, God to put his hands over him and heal him. Always, no matter if we were next to him in NICU, no matter if we were in the waiting room, in the shower, anywhere that we were at in any second, we were always praying.
Yeah, and that's what I think got us through it all. We prayed, and although it didn't work out the way we thought it was going to work out, I know that God heard our prayers and gave us strength and saved us through everything that happened. Because, like, I wasn't asking God, like, why did you do this? I would ask him, like, for what? Like, what's the reason to all this? Like, what do you want me to learn? What do you want me to do for you, that you moved me so much? Like, where do you want me to go from here? This is why we're doing this video, because this all has to do with how we've been this whole year. We had kept our faith, and God promised us a baby to bring home. So we were nowhere near losing our faith. We got even closer together than we already were. You know, we've gotten stronger. If anything, we have more faith now than we ever did.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that this is not the first video that we're gonna do about Isaac. I'm sure in like a couple years from now or something, we're most likely gonna do another video, because to us, nothing's ever gonna be perfect enough, and there's a lot of things that we want to say that we're probably not gonna be able to say in this video, or we're gonna forget and look back at this video and be like, oh my god, why did I say this? Why did I say that? Yeah. Because we learned a lot from everything that happened. You know, we believe God is in control. Everything that happened, God was in control. There's a reason for everything. You just gotta trust God, and that's what we've been doing.
It's not easy.
No. You don't, I feel like when you lose a child, you don't ever get over it. You just learn how to live every day.
But
without your baby.
To keep you going, is you always have to walk by faith.
Yes.
And that's what got us here. That's what got us this far. Because we could have gotten into drugs. We could have gotten into alcohol. We could have done so many things, but we didn't. We got on our knees and prayed. We went to church. We prayed. We asked God to now help us, give us strength, so we can follow His purpose. So we know what was the purpose of all this.
Yeah.
And I believe that God used this as to show people to have faith around our ages, that when doctors say one thing, when doctors say, hey, you can never have kids, or you will never, or anything, you know, okay, listen to the doctors, but always remember that God has the last word. He is the bigger doctor. He has the hands behind any surgery, behind any disease, behind anything. You know, God is in control.
And anyone could sit here and argue with us and say, oh, but the doctor told you your son was going to die anyways. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, our son lasted a lot longer than they said he was going to last.
They couldn't believe it. And when the doctor said, by December 17th in the afternoon, around 2 o'clock, Isaac was ready for his first feeding. And they couldn't believe it. The next day he was up more on his feeding, and they still couldn't believe it. They were in shock. And I used to tell the doctor all the time, that's because God's helping him.
Yeah,
and the doctor knew.
We would say that.
The doctor did. The doctor knew that he was like, wow. He goes, you guys have a strong faith. And I said, yeah, and that will never end.
That's why we made it our business, like, to continue having faith. You know, I felt there was no need to let go of everything I've ever believed in. If anything, I held on to it dearly and just made it grow. Like, my son helped me make it all grow. You know, if I never had Isaac, I probably wouldn't have as much faith as I do now. You know, I always said we always got to make our situations, like, if it's a negative situation or if something's going on, we got to make it positive. We got to do something positive. You have to make a negative, turn a negative into a positive. And that's exactly how we did everything. People were even saying or questioning, you know, my strength, or if I even loved my son, or if I even cared because I wasn't crying like that. But you don't understand, like, when you have this strength that God is giving you, you have no other choice but to use that strength. Like, I felt His presence so much in that time in our lives, you know, where even when I had to pick out his clothes for him to be in the casket, when I had to pick out the date and time where we were going to do the viewing and where we were going to do the viewing, pick out pictures and pick out the music for his funeral, pick out the plot, or the plot and where he was going to be laid to rest at, which he's 2 stones away from my youngest brother, Emmanuel. God definitely gave me the strength, and what can I say? We're here now. I had gotten pregnant by Mother's Day, and May 2nd, right, was when I found out. Or was it April 2nd?
I don't know. You surprised me. She surprised me again.
It was that day, though. No, but it was that day. And the way I surprised him was by telling him in bed. I found out because, you know, to all the girls out there who are moms, I don't know if you ever read the pack, the pregnancy test pack, that it tells you the first urine of the day. Sorry, guys, TMI, but what can you expect? Anyways, so I went to the restroom. It was early. It was like 4 something, 5 o'clock in the morning. And I went and took the test with me. I did what I had to do. And I got the test, and yet again. But this time, the plus sign was like
dark.
And I waited for him to wake up, because
I remember I turned over in bed, and I woke up in the morning. I seen her up.
I couldn't wait.
I give her a kiss on the cheek, and I said, "I love you, babe." And I will go back to sleep. She goes, "Babe, can I tell you something?" And I'm like, "What?" And I'm half asleep. I'm like, "What?"
And we were hugging.
And
we were hugging.
She goes, "I'm pregnant." And at that point, I'm like, again, you're lying to me. But
yeah, I feel like my son and God definitely made sure that I wasn't going to feel alone for Mother's Day. I wasn't going to feel alone for my birthday, for the holidays, and for his birthday. Because on his first birthday, I was holding our daughter. And she was supposed to be born December 18th, another C-section, so it was, you know, planned. But instead, she was born December 6th. So that meant for his birthday, I was going to be holding my daughter here at home. And that just goes to show God definitely does answer prayers. He does keep his promises. He promised me a baby I was going to bring home. She's here with me. Thank God. For any of you who lose a child and go and try again and get pregnant, it is scary. Like, you don't stop thinking of the things that can happen.
And the things you went through.
Yes, and you don't want to go through that again, so all that replays, and you're still going through the motions of dealing with the heartache of losing a child. So it's not going to be easy, but you have to have some kind of faith. You have to believe in something. You can't just believe in nothing and think you're going to be able to go through it, because you're going to just go insane. You have to believe in something and stick firm to your belief or to your faith. I believe in Jesus Christ, and through my whole pregnancy with my daughter, it was hard. You know, emotionally, it was harder than anything else for me. But, you know, I got through it. Again, prayed every day like I did for my son. Being faithful like we were definitely got me through that whole pregnancy, like I was just saying. When we had her, I wasn't scared. I was actually more relieved, because we had kept it a secret through our whole pregnancy. And the day we had her, I didn't only think, thank God she's here and she's alive and she's well and she's healthy and I get to hold her and have her, because I got to hold her and have her the first day I had her. She didn't have to stay in NICU. She had to stay in NICU for 6 hours for observation. And she did absolutely great. And she came to the room with me. My husband went and got her at the nursery with my brother. And I held her and had her and hold her, and I was with her all day, and it just felt amazing because, you know, we latched on. And that was another thing I wish I could have done with my son, was breastfeed him. Instead, you know, I had to pump for him because he was in NICU, but that was something I was looking forward to. So to do it with my daughter the first day, to be able to do that, was another milestone for us. But God knows exactly what he's doing, because I had her on the 6th. I was able to tell the world. That time we surprised everyone. Only our family and selected friends knew that I was pregnant. I was on bed rest the whole time, so that's the way I did it. I was home 24/7 basically. For any of you asking how the heck did I hide my pregnancy, yeah, I was home, so nobody got to see me. And then we did a video. I couldn't talk in the video. That's another video that you can all see on my YouTube channel. I had my mother-in-law and my mom talk, and then my husband talk, because I couldn't talk. I was exhausted. I hadn't slept all day. My blood pressure was still up.
She was on those good pills.
That too. But yeah, I was done. The only strength I had was to continue holding my daughter and tending to her, though our room was super packed with family. I had them do it, and that was a weight off my shoulders, because with my daughter, I wanted to keep that a secret. I wanted only us to enjoy it. We even moved to South Carolina, and a lot of people didn't know that we did that. We moved for, it was just like 2 months, I believe. But yeah. Is there anything else? And again, sorry about the video. This is, you know, raw, and I already told y'all this is how my videos are gonna be, and this is how we are. And most likely, like in 2 years from now, maybe, who knows, 3 years, who knows, I might, most likely I'm gonna do another video about Isaac's story, and it's probably gonna be so much better than this. But I hope you all watch the video and get something out of it.
Just subscribe, share it to the world, because you never know who needs to hear this message, you know, or hear this story, you know, because we're not the only family, we're not the only parents to actually go through this.
Yeah, we're not the first, and we're unfortunately not going to be the last. But like I said, you have to believe in something. We believe in Jesus Christ. We have faith in him, you know. God is the one who got us through it all, and we're not going to deny that. I know we're probably in the near future, I'm going to get a lot of negative comments about what I'm saying, but it's not going to change anything. We're living proof, you know. You just have to keep faith. You have to keep going, you know. God knows what he's doing, and even though you're going through the toughest time in your life, remember this: not what you see, it's not what you hear, it's not what you think. God is in control. Leave it all up to him. He will guide you, and he's going to do amazing things with you. When you think he's not doing anything for you, he's working. He's making things happen. He's lining up all those dominoes, and pretty soon he's going to touch it, and everything is all going to fall into place. You just got to believe in him. Yep. You know, don't stare away. Don't be negative. You have to be positive, and by being positive, you just have to have faith in him. Like I said, trust in God. He knows what he's doing. He knows what he is doing. So don't lose faith. Don't lose hope. Ever. And for those of you who are trying to have kids, don't stop trying. Don't lose hope. Even if you're 32. Even if you're 23. 42. Don't worry about it.
It's all in God's time.
Exactly.
It's not when you're ready. It's when he says. He knows when you're ready.
And again, anything in life you guys go through. You just have to have faith. You have to believe. So, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. I know this is super duper duper long. Now I'm thinking I'm gonna edit some of this because I see it's super long. But I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for all the love and support that I've already gotten off of my channel. You don't know how much I appreciate that. I have an email if anybody wants to email me about, you know, losing a child and feeling alone. You're not alone. The email is moaa1217@gmail.com. Mother of an Angel 1217@gmail.com. That's what that means. And my regular email should be up on my YouTube account, so if anybody else wants to email me about other things, you can email me there. But thanks for watching again. Really appreciate it, and I love you all.
Thank you for listening to our story.